What is happening, Chiefs Kingdom? Gary McKenzie back at you again for another episode of Gridiron Lines. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have a special episode for you today. You may wonder why Brett Veach is showing up on this screen here, and that's because I'm going to rank Brett Veach's draft picks by placing them in tiers. So you see tons of tier videos on YouTube. I joined the party. And Brett Veach took over for the Chiefs as general manager in 2017, and 2018 was his first draft. So we'll start at 2018 and we'll start dropping players into their tiers. I'll give commentary, but this should be a lot of fun. So, first year Veach was general manager for the Chiefs was 2018. He had 6 draft picks. He took Breland Speaks in the second round, Derek Nottie in the third round, Dorian O'Daniel in the third round, in the fourth, Tremon Smith in the sixth, and Khalil McKenzie in the sixth. Now, I excluded from the tiers because I just felt like it wasn't fair to give Brett Veach a poor grade for picks that were taken in the sixth round. Oftentimes, those players are more developmental. Just give them a shot, see if they pan out. If they don't, they're late round draft picks. You can't expect late round draft picks to consistently make the roster or make an impact for the team. So in 2018, our draft pick tiers look like this. We have Derek Nottie hitting the B tier. And he was the best draft pick of 2018 by Brett Veach, in my opinion. And I say this because he was a third round pick and he has been a starter for the Chiefs defense for several years. And that's about what you can expect from, or that's about as much as you want to expect from a third round pick or can expect realistically, because he's contributed to this team. He's been a good piece alongside of Chris Jones. He's played the run well. He's had his occasional pressure of the quarterback, and he's just been a solid player for the Chiefs. So I give him a B tier. Next, we have 2 players in the D tier. One of them is Dorian O'Daniel. Now, Dorian O'Daniel was a later round pick. He was taken in the third round, so mid round pick. And he never really lived up to the hype that a lot of Chiefs fans had placed on him early on. Very athletic, rangy type linebacker, but could never see the field on very many opportunities. So I gave him a D tier. Next, we have Armani Watts. Armani Watts was a fourth round selection. And same situation as Dorian O'Daniel. A lot of Chiefs fans really liked Watts, but he never got to see the field, and he ended up not having too many meaningful snaps for the Chiefs. And so he is D tier. Lastly, we have Breland Speaks. So Breland Speaks was the first draft pick by Brett Veach. He was drafted to be a pass rusher on the defensive line. And after a couple seasons, it became apparent he was not going to be a contributor. And he really flamed out and is no longer with the Chiefs. And I don't think he's in the NFL anymore. So that was an F tier pick for Brett Veach in 2018. Moving on to 2019, the Chiefs had 6 draft picks again. They took McCole Hardman and Juan Thornhill in the second round. In the third round, they took Colin Saunders. In the sixth round, they took Rashad Fenton. The sixth round, they took Darwin Thompson. In the seventh round, they took Nick Allegretti. Let's see where these players land in the tiers. So, hitting the B tier, both Juan Thornhill and Allegretti, I have them as B tier draft picks for Brett Veach. Juan Thornhill played a lot of games as a starter, made some impact. He was the second round pick. So overall, that's a good pick by Brett Veach. Also, I forgot to mention McCole Hardman. I have him as a B tier player as well. So his entry into Kansas City was kind of tumultuous. Tyreek Hill was going through some issues off the field. The Chiefs fans thought that maybe Hardman would be the replacement for Hill, but there is no replacement for Tyreek Hill. However, Hardman was a good player for the Chiefs offense. He contributed on punt returns. He was efficient on the offensive side of the ball, running jet sweeps, catching passes when he needed to. He never had a huge breakout season, but for a second round wide receiver of his stature and size, he made good with where he was drafted. So I grade him as a B. The last B player from the 2019 draft I have is Nick Allegretti. He's been on the Chiefs' offensive line off and on as a rotational player. And as you saw, he was drafted in the 7th round. So if you can get a 7th round player that can fill in along the offensive line and have some spot starts here and there, that's a pretty good pickup. And he has been with the Chiefs team for ever since he was drafted in 2019. So that's a pretty good pickup for the Chiefs. I grade him as a B tier player. Next on the C tier, we have both Rashad Fenton and Darwin Thompson. So Rashad Fenton is C tier mainly because of issues he had keeping his hands off offensive players. He had a lot of holding penalties, but he did contribute for the team. And as a 6th round pick, I feel like his contribution was fair. It wasn't anything extraordinary. He contributed to the team, and you could say the same thing for Darwin Thompson, another 6th round pick, taken 214th overall. He contributed to the Chiefs' offense for the short period that he was in Kansas City. He was a smaller statured running back, and for a 6th round running back, he contributed about what you would expect. So I give Darwin Thompson a C tier grade. There were no D or F tier players in the 2019 draft, so let's move on to 2020. And in 2020, the Chiefs once again had 6 draft picks. In the 1st round, they took Clyde Edwards-Helaire. 2nd round, they took Willie Gay. 3rd round, they took Lucas Niang. 4th round, L'Jarius Sneed. 5th round, Michael Dana. And then 7th round, they took Thacarius Keys. I excluded Thacarius Keys once again for the same reason we excluded those 2 players in the 2018 draft. Late round pick. Never really got an opportunity. Can't hold that against Veach because this just happens. It's the name of the game in the NFL. So looking at the tiers for the 2020 draft, we have more entries into the B level. So Michael Dana, we'll start with him as far as B level goes. This is a 5th round pick for the Chiefs. And if you watched tape last year, Michael Dana made some noise along the defensive line, and he's done that since he's come to Kansas City. 5th round pass rushing talent. You don't expect them to be world beaters, but he has played above what he was taken in the draft, and I've been pleasantly surprised with Dana. I think that he could continue to make an impact and be a good piece for the Chiefs next year in their pass rush, so I'm excited to see what he can do. Also in the B tier, I have Willie Gay. So Willie Gay was a player that I I really wanted to put in that A tier, but I felt like since he was a 2nd round linebacker and he's more or less an aggressive downhill linebacker who has had some problems in coverage and has had some lapses. Um, I put him on the B tier, but you can argue for him to go to the A tier. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think that Willie Gay should be A tier, or do you think it's fair that he's at B tier? Moving down to the D tier, we have Lucas Niang. So Lucas Niang has been injured frequently. The Chiefs picked him up to fill tackle position, most likely right tackle, and he has either been injured or hasn't been able to find the field. But keep in mind, he was a 3rd round pick. So while you do want some production out of your 3rd round pick, I didn't want to give him an F because that's a mid-round draft pick, and you can't expect all your mid-round draft picks to be all-stars. Nextly, on the F tier, we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, it doesn't mean I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been an F-level player for the Chiefs. It simply means that he was a 1st-round draft pick, and he has not held up to the billing being a 1st-round draft pick, particularly a 1st-round running back. So he's one of the first running backs taken off the board in 2020, and he has not lived up to that billing. And he was eventually replaced by another player that was drafted by Brett Veach, Isaiah Pacheco, and we'll get to them soon. But we have our first S tier draft pick by Brett Veach. That's L'Jarius Sneed. He was a 4th-round cornerback, and he has came through tremendously for this Chiefs team. He has been the heart and soul of the Chiefs defense for the past few years. I really hope Kansas City can extend him and pay him, give him a contract, because he can do things that a lot of cornerbacks can't do. He's good against the run. He's great tackling. He can play on the outside, but he's even better on the inside. If he was a baseball player, he'd be considered a 5-tool player because he can really do almost anything that Spagnuolo asks him to do. And the Chiefs need to hit on draft picks like this if they want to keep going to the Super Bowl. So L'Jarius Sneed, make no mistake, has been a huge part of the Chiefs' success um, these past few seasons because he's been an unexpected diamond in the rough that has really come through. So L'Jarius Sneed is the first S tier draft pick that Brett Veach has made, and it happened a few years ago in 2020. Next, we have the 2021 draft. And this was a great draft by Brett Veach. 6 picks taken overall. Nick Bolton in the second round, Creed Humphrey in the second round, Joshua Kando in the fourth, Noah Gray in the fifth, Cornell Powell in the fifth, and Trey Smith in the sixth. Now, I didn't want to hurt Dan's feelings because he's had a crush on Cornell Powell for a long time. So I decided to exclude him from the tiers because he just hasn't had an opportunity to show what he's got yet. And maybe next year's the year with a scrambled wide receiver room for the Chiefs. Maybe he'll get an opportunity and we'll see what Dan's been talking about. But I didn't include him on the tiers because there's just not a large enough body of work to really give him a grade that has any merit. So looking at the tiers for this 2021 draft class was, in my opinion, Brett Veach's best draft class so far. But he's been getting better. Veach has been getting better every year. We'll start with the A tier. So there were 2 A tier players taken in the draft by Brett Veach in 2021. We'll start with Nick Bolton. So another second round linebacker, kind of akin to Willie Gay in that second round linebacker has had a huge impact for the Chiefs. But I think that Nick Bolton's play has been above Willie Gay's, and that's why he has been elevated to the A tier while Willie Gay is in the B tier. Nick Bolton has led the Chiefs in tackles. Very sure tackler, downhill, physical linebacker, and he can play coverage some, in a phone booth type situations. So great pickup by Brett Veach. Nextly, we have Trey Smith. He's the other A tier draftee by Brett Veach in 2020, taken in the 6th round. Had some health concerns coming out of college. The Chiefs took a chance on him, and that chance really paid off. And so I think that Smith's rookie year was more impressive than his second year. He might have had a bit of a sophomore slump, but still, you're getting a starting caliber offensive guard in the 6th round. That is a huge pickup for a Chiefs team that really needed offensive linemen at that time. And so Trey Smith, I think that if he continues this trajectory that he's been on and he gets better next year, I think he might have a chance at calling a shot at the S tier. But as of now, I have him A tier. There were no B tier players in the 2021 draft, according to my evaluation. Moving on to the C tier, you have Noah Gray. Noah Gray was a 5th round tight end, and he has contributed well to the offense. So 5th round tight end, you would expect some snaps here and there, contribute some on offense, and he's done just that. He's done his job. So I give him a C tier grade. You might disagree and think he is a B tier level draft pick by the Chiefs. So let me know in the comments if you think that's the case. And then lastly, I have Joshua Kando as a D tier player. And mainly that's because he was taken in the 4th round and he's had some injury issues. He never really got a shot. I almost thought about excluding him, but I'll keep him on the D tier for now. Let me know if you think he should be excluded or whether he should be included. What grade do you think Joshua Kando should have? Nextly, last year's draft, 2022. 2 first-round picks for the Chiefs, partly because they traded Tyreek Hill. In the first round was Trent McDuffie. Another first-round pick, George Karlaftis. Second round, Sky Moore, as well as Brian Cook in the second round. Third round, you had Leo Chenal. 4th round, you had Joshua Williams. And there were so many draft picks in 2022, I had to make 2 sheets here. In the 5th round, Darian Kennard. 7th round, Jalen Watson. 7th round, Isaiah Pacheco. 7th round, Najee Johnson. I excluded Najee Johnson from this list for the same reason I excluded others, because he just hasn't had an opportunity. And late round pick, this happens in the NFL. Sometimes players don't pan out. I don't want to knock Brett Veach for that. So moving on to the tiers for the 2022 draft class, we have 2 more A tier players. And the first one is Trent McDuffie. And some of you might disagree and think he's a B tier. Let me know once again in the comments. But I think that Trent McDuffie, the Chiefs moved up to get him. His college tape was unbelievable. Great defensive player. Held opponent wide receivers to very low passer rating when the ball was targeted to them. didn't give up a lot of completions. His rookie season was promising, and I think that he is, as of now, given his body of work um, in the 2022 season, that he's an A tier pickup. The Chiefs did the right thing to move up. And actually, the Bills were thinking about taking McDuffie, and they were kind of miffed whenever the Chiefs jumped them and took McDuffie, and they ended up with, I believe, Elam was the other player they took. The other A tier player, Isaiah Pacheco, seventh round running back, coming in, taking over the starting role from Clyde Edwards-Helaire, contributing to a Super Bowl team. I give him an A. Some of you may give him an S, but let me know again in the comments. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments here. And I did miss one pick from the 2021 draft class, and might be one of my favorite picks that Brett Veach has had his entire time with Kansas City as general manager. So back in 2021, sorry Creed, I missed you, but he landed on the S tier. I think that's the most obvious S tier player that the Chiefs have picked, that the Chiefs have drafted. He was second round pick, and he's been playing like the best center in all of the NFL, maybe even the best rated player by PFF along the offensive line. So that's just incredible. So sorry, Creed. Please forgive me. I forgot to mention you when we were talking about 2021, but we'll jump back to 2022 now. Moving on to B tier. The first B tier player from last year's draft, I have George Karlaftis. Now, some of you might think that, he only had, 5 or 6 sacks last year. Maybe he should be C tier, being a first round draft pick. I think that would be a fair criticism, but I also want to keep noting that Karlaftis was only 21 last year, and the 5 or 6 sacks that he had were the 13th most sacks in NFL history for a player that was only 21 years of age. So very young, and did good things for the Chiefs. He's been working with Tom Bahali this offseason. You love to see it. So we'll see if he stays at B or if he climbs up to an A, or if he bottoms out next year. Maybe he'll fall to a C or D. But right now, I have George Karlaftis as B tier. Next along the B tier, I have Brian Cook. Brian Cook, another second round pickup for the Chiefs, I believe. Let me check my notes. Yes, 62 overall. And yeah, I think he played meaningful snaps for the Chiefs last year. With the departure of Juan Thornhill, I believe the Chiefs are looking at potentially um, starting Brian Cook, and I think that he can fill the role well. He's a physical safety. He can play special teams. He played special teams last year. So I think the arrow is pointing up for Brian Cook. I gave him a B grade. Next, we have Joshua Williams, and fourth round cornerback, came in, filled in admirably, played very well, played well in the playoffs, had a huge game versus the Bengals. And so I gave him B tier, and he falls in the same bucket as Jalen Watson. Jalen Watson also B tier. You might have an argument that you would think that Jalen Watson should be B tier while Joshua Williams is C tier. I think that's a fair argument, because Jalen Watson was a seventh round pick, and he contributed the same as Joshua Williams did. He had a huge interception versus the Chargers to kind of help the Chiefs win that game early on in the season. And so another really great pickup by Brett Veach. Moving on to the C tier, we have Sky Moore, who, as a rookie receiver in Andy Reid's offense, he contributed. He didn't get as many looks as a lot of us Chiefs fans would have liked us to see, but he came up huge in the playoffs. He had a huge punt return versus the Bengals, and he had a touchdown in the Super Bowl. So I believe his arrow is potentially pointing up too. We'll see what happens next year, but he's a player that I'm very interested in seeing how he progresses. Next along the C tier, we have Leo Chenal, third round linebacker. Physical presence, very athletic. We all saw him jump up the side of the bus during the Super Bowl parade. My goodness, he looked like Spider-Man doing that. I didn't know a human that large could do that. So free athlete. His arrow is also pointing up, and I believe that he could move up this tier ranking if he continues the trajectory that he's on. So the Chiefs linebacker group is set, and it's set because the last few seasons they've drafted linebackers, they put value on that position, and they've hit on their linebackers. So this is a good sign for the Chiefs defense moving forward. Overall, the statistician in me wants to note that if you look at this distribution of players, it's a nice bell curve. So we have B and C in the middle, A and D with less, and then S and F with the fewest. So a nice looking bell curve here. And the bell curve trends heavily towards B tier players. Maybe I'm biased, or maybe Brett Veach is that good. What do you think? Do you think that I'm biased and that's why the Chiefs players are majority in the B tier? Or do you think Brett Veach has done that good of a job where he is drafting great talent uh, throughout the rounds in the draft and he deserves all the kudos? Personally, I think Brett Veach deserves the kudos, and I believe that my evaluation is good. But that's all I have today. So bear with me here. I don't know how good my internet quality is. I'm recording this late at night, all-time high in the evenings. So hopefully this doesn't come across too grainy. But I really enjoyed making this video for you all. This is the first tier video I've ever made. I joined the YouTube party with everybody else. Let me know in the comments one more time what you think. And if you can, hit the like button and make sure you subscribe if you have not done so already. Tell all your friends and family about RGR football. There's a few really good guys here at RGR football, and then there's me. I won't throw myself in that good guy bunch. But that's all I've got today. Y'all have a wonderful day. And as always, go Chiefs. Looking forward to an awesome draft. Hopefully, the Chiefs can pick up more S tier players in next year's draft.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.